Can you hear me? My audible? Okay, apologies for that. So, I was saying that in the last session, we talked about the power of future proofing your career. And in today's session, we're just going to jump right into it. My name is Ntuvere. I am founder and the lead faculty of the Talking Academy. Today, we're going to talk about unlocking your career, breaking the fixed mindset, how to move from I can't to I haven't learned yet. Today, we'll be talking about the power of yet. It's very, very important. So pay very close attention. At the end of this session, you will have migrated from thinking a certain way to thinking in multiple possibilities. And I'm really hoping that you stay glued to the end of this session. This session is going to be very, very short, but it's going to be very profound. It's going to be one of the most impactful sessions that you have had for your career. So pay very close attention to what we have to learn to this in this session. Okay. Now the glass ceiling, we hear a lot about the glass ceiling, especially, if you're a lady, if you're a woman, a career person, or a woman generally, we talk about the glass ceiling so often. The ceiling typically is a depiction of what you need to shatter to get to the next level. So imagine that you have two graduates in Ibadan. One sees job requirements and they just start thinking, oh my God, I don't have the skills. I will not apply. How relatable is this? Because it happens to me. Today I had something I needed to apply for, and I just saw some things. I went to look at the people, the past recipients of the opportunity, and I was like, oh my God, these people have done so much with their lives. Are you sure I want to, apply for this? Am I eligible? Right? So it's totally relatable to find yourself in a situation where you feel like you don't have all the skills and you don't qualify, right? But the other person, on the other hand, is thinking, I don't have these skills, but I can learn them. And they go ahead and apply. So who do you think is going to land the job? Who do you think is going to land the job? Your guess is definitely as good as mine. Now let's examine the fixed versus the growth mindset. The fixed mindset is it believes that intelligence is static. It avoids challenges. It believes that if you know, you know. If you don't know, you don't know. It's either you know or you don't know, right? And then it also believes that effort is fruitless and it is afraid of other people, right? The growth mindset, on the other hand, believes that intelligence grows. So if you look at the screen, you will see two pictures. The picture that you see probably on your left is a sculpture. It's a sculpture for a reason because it's set in stone. On your right, you see another picture, a person that has a tree sprouting from their head, right? That signifies growth because living things grow, trees grow. What this means is that intelligence grows, right? So a growth mindset embraces challenges and sees them as opportunities to grow. And they believe that effort leads to mastery, and they also learn from their successes as well as their failures. So let me give you a good illustration. A while ago, I was having a conversation with a friend, and then I was telling them all the reasons why I couldn't get something done. I didn't think I could get something done. And then they told me, person said, don't think, stop saying I can't do it. Stop saying this is why you can't do it. Instead, ask how you can get it done. And I just paused in that moment because I talk about this thing, right? I think head level, we know some of these things, but when push comes to shove, sometimes you forget, right? So a growth mindset is the one that asks questions. It's the one that asks, how can I get this thing done? It's a very curious mindset. It's a kind of mindset that is constantly wanting to understand why things are the way they are and how they work. All right. Now let's talk about the power of not yet, or the power of yet, as I like to call it. I'm always very excited about these. Um, there was a research that was carried out in I think it was Stanford, and then they had a graduate high school students, pupils put into different groups, And then one group were given assignments just like the other group, and then they were told to get some things done. And then the first group was given the assignment without anything else. They just told to figure it out, right? Just figure it out. Make sure you do not fail, right? If you fail, you will get your scores, and that is that. The other group, on the other hand, they were given the assignments to do, and then they were told that every time they did not pass, they would not get a score that says fail. They would get not yet, right? So every single time the people from group A would fail or not do well, they would see an F. Meanwhile, the other research took um, different school terms. It was a long research. It took like I think about over a year, a school session, a full school session. At the end of that research, it was discovered that the people in the second group who were taught the power of not yet, they did so much, they did much better than their counterparts, right? Because there's such power in knowing that this is not the end. I'm still learning. This is a learning curve. I'm still turning the corner. I haven't turned the corner completely, but when I get to the end of the corner, I will have learned this thing. That's the power of not yet, or yet, as I would call it. So in Nigeria's tech and business landscape, tools are changing every year, right? If it's not ChatGPT, if it's not Cloud AI, if it's not Grok, if it's not Banana, if it's not all of those things, I mean, they're coming so fast at us. So if you have a fixed mindset, you become obsolete because you think you either know or you don't know. You think you either can learn fast or you can't learn at all, right? But if you have a growth mindset, you become future proof. So the question you want to ask yourself is, when was the last time I felt like a beginner at something? Because it's so very often Nigeria parlance, we say JJC, Jolly Just Come. So what that means is that you're learning something afresh. But when we all came into this world, we were all learners. We were all born curious, trying to figure out why light is shining, trying to figure out why you should not put your hand inside fire, trying to figure out why you should not jump from high positions, trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work, trying to even learn who your parents were. We just were born curious. But all right. So I had a network glitch, but I'm back. So give me a second to bring back my slide. Yep. Where were we? Okay. Yep. Okay. So yeah, I was saying that we have, let me just make this bold. So I was saying that we're constantly being told to focus on our strengths and not pay attention to our weaknesses, but I don't think that is very good advice because the saying that a chain is only as strong as the weakest link. I do not believe that we are designed to prosper by ignoring our weaknesses. I believe that it is best, and I mean, it's not just what I believe. I think that there's a lot of research to back up the fact that if you constantly focus on improving the areas that you're not so strong in, it is better for you and for everybody else in the long run, right? So it is false. Why is it false? Focusing only on what you already know will prevent you from developing the new neural pathways needed to solve complex modern problems. And let me explain this. Every time you learn something new, neurologists have a map of the brain, and they say that our brains are so interconnected that there are things called neurons in the brain. And your neurons form what is called neural pathways every time you experience something new by learning, by an adventure. Is it a new job? It could be a new book you're reading. It could be you're making a new friend. It could be that you're walking into a new space that you haven't been to before. But every time you are having a new experience or learning something new, you're forming a new neural pathway. And what happens is that every time you go back to that experience, either you've read something or you're trying to solve a math equation that you're not so good at and you're just starting. The time you're just, kickstarting, you're learning and you're forming a new neural pathway. What happens when you keep repeating that process is that you're strengthening that neural pathway. How amazing is that? And in neuroplasticity, it has been, discovered that the brain actually changes and, changes in form and it expands, it gets better. The brain is plastic. That's why you have the word neuroplasticity. Okay. So you do not need to just focus on the things that you're great at. If you're great at them, go on and learn things that you're not great at because you're supposed to suck at things at first before you get better. I had a mentor who used to say that every master was once a disaster. So do not focus on doing the easy things because easy things do not develop new neural pathways in your brain. Okay, here's a life scenario about a promotion. Chidi and Amaka, both of these people are junior analysts. The manager gives them a complex project that uses a software that they have never seen before. Now, Chidi spends 2 hours. He gets frustrated and asks for an easier task. I can't do this. I cannot come and go and kill myself, as we say in Nigeria. I don't get paid enough for this, as some people say. Amaka, on the other hand, watches 3 YouTube tutorials. She failed twice. I'm sure she fails more than that, but in this scenario, she fails twice. But eventually, she produces a basic draft. Who do you think the manager is likely to promote in 6 months and why? Your guess is definitely as good as mine, right? Because every employer, every organization is looking for the person who keeps trying, who believes in the power of yet. I don't know it, but I'm willing to learn. That ability to be willing to try, that willingness to try, even if you don't know, that willingness to try. I think the most exciting thing about anybody is the willingness to try, the curiosity, the willingness to say, I don't know it, but I'm going to try. I'm going to probably fail at it, but at least I'm going to learn and I'm going to try, right? So let's talk about building your growth habits. You have to learn growth. Growth is not something that is spontaneous. The funny thing is when you bury a seed in the ground, as a child, let me go back to this scenario, talking about burying a seed in the ground. As a child, even as an adult, I have this quiet fantasy in my head that one day I will plant a seed in the ground and I will monitor that seed. I will not sleep. Or I'll put a camera in the soil or something. And since I may not be able to capture it in real time, I want to see the process of the seed opening and then sprouting and beginning to push up against the soil and then beginning to grow out of the ground. Because I think it's very interesting, right? That is just how growth works. It's not spontaneous. It's in your daily actions. So let's talk about changing your mindset by changing your daily actions because this is how you rewire your brain for success and in return future proof your career. So Here are the steps that you need to take to pivot your career. The first thing you need to do is to audit your self talk. Stop saying, I'm not good at this. Instead, start saying, I'm not so great at this yet, right? Agreed, I'm not good at it yet. When you say, I'm not good at this, are you putting pressure on yourself to be good at it? Or are you saying, I'm not good at this yet? And then you put a question mark. When that happens, you give yourself permission to become that person that knows it. How? By learning. The second thing you need to do is to seek feedback. Always be asking, how can I improve this? Instead of was it good? Was it good is not feedback because your what that is confirmation bias. That's what it's called, confirmation bias. You're simply looking for somebody to say, oh, you did a great job, even if you did not do a great job. So when let's say you submit a report and it's your first time, or you draft an essay and it's your first time, and then you submit it to your supervisor, don't ask was it good, because when you ask the person was it good, you put them in a position where they likely don't want to hurt your feelings, and they'll say yeah it was good, it was good. The ones that are honest will tell you, oh well, it was good but it can be better. That is not really feedback. Instead, ask, how can I improve this? And then they can tell you where you got it right and where you can do better on. Next thing you want to do is the 15 minutes push. Spend at least 15 minutes daily on a skill that challenges you. I would tell you a story of one time this happened to me, but I don't have a lot of time. I'm just going to say that I had a challenge and I did not have all the resources at that point. And honestly, I just wanted to give up. But I created a roadmap and I told myself, yes, I suck at this thing, but I'm going to learn this thing. And I just gave myself time and I became one of the best. I was like absolutely good at it. And it's not a me thing, it's a human thing because our brains are designed to be able to tackle challenges. The moment we say we can, we can. I think it was Norman Vincent Peale who said, I can't remember, I think it was either Norman Vincent Peale or Ralph Waldo that said, if you think, I think it was Norman, if you think you can't, you're right. If you think you can, you're also right. Okay, so here's something that I'm going to need us to do later on the platform. It's called the skill swap assignments, right? So we're going to break you into a group of three, and you're going to identify one fixed mindset or belief that you hold, each person. For instance, you could say, I'm just terrified of public speaking. That's my mindset. I'm terrible at public speaking rather. So the assignment is for you to brainstorm, find one resource or a small step for each person to tackle that fear this week. Remember that the cure for fear is action. If you want to perpetuate your fear, stay inactive. Just keep thinking about it. You'll die in it. The next thing you want to do is commit. You write down your not yet statement. I am not yet a great public speaker, right? On a piece of paper and exchange it with your partner. So because we're doing this virtually, it's going to be something you have to type, right? That's a skill swap assignment. In Nigerian culture, there's often a high pressure on us to be the best or perfect. I know that we're not all Nigerians, but um, most of us are. There's also this quiet pressure, but it's very high that says you have to be the best. That is why we we seldom own up to our mistakes because we are not rewarded until we are the best, right? And that pressure makes it hard for people to be accountable. It makes it hard for people to even say I'm sorry because I'm sorry would mean that you were wrong. And we don't like to be wrong because being wrong means that you're less than perfect and you're not the best. So, how do you think this is your takeaway question? Just go and ponder on it, right? In the group, we'll talk about it further. How does this cultural pressure contribute to a fixed mindset, and how can we support each other to embrace failure as part of learning? Right? I think there was a book by John Maxwell that says sometimes we win, sometimes we learn. And there's another one called failing forward, right? So failure is a learning curve. Failure is feedback. It's not final, it's feedback. So that is what I do want you to think about. And this personal career assignment will be shared on the group after now. And we have come to the end of the session. I said I was going to make this very brief. I'm sure that we have questions, and I think that I think we should probably address those of the community. So you can just go ahead and type your questions out in the community, and we will respond to them. In a subset versus the growth mindset, we say exists, but it's only in our mind. Talk about the power of not yet. I do not know how to do this, how to be this yet, right? Instead of saying, I am terrible at this, don't say, never ever say, I'm terrible at this. Just say, I'm not yet good at this, okay? Always, this week, as you're stepping out, okay, the next week, remember to apply the power of yet and give us feedback. Let us know that one thing that you encountered, that one problem situation, one time you had a challenge and you had to tell somebody you're not good at something, and then you applied not yet. And throughout that week, notice and observe how that helped you to incline yourself more towards learning that thing, towards embracing that challenge and finding creative ways to move forward with it. Um, we have also talked about I've also talked about your growth habits, and we've talked about self-talk, right? We also talked about asking for feedback. So don't ever ask, was that good? Instead, ask, how can I improve on this? That is a better way to receive and ask for constructive feedback. And also, we talked about spending 15 minutes daily on a skill that challenges you because we want to create new neural pathways, not just new neural pathways, we want to create stronger neural pathways this week. So that is that for this session. I hope that I believe and I know that you learned something very impactful and something very useful. And I will see you on the community. We'll talk about your questions in details for those of us who have a question, and I will see you in the next session. Have a great week ahead.